Welcome to topic 4 in our linear unit. So topic 4, we're continuing our discussion on slope, and today is slope from 2 points. So slope from 2 points. So topic 3, we talked about slope from a graph. Today we're going to talk about slope from 2 points, which you could plot the 2 points and count rides over a run, but depending on the graph and being able to plot them may or may not be feasible. So any 2 points you can also do algebraically, find the slope. So just as a reminder, let's start with what slope is. So remember, slope is our m, right? We call slope the m when we're talking about our when we start talking about it in the equation. Next week, it's going to stand for m. It equals rise over run, right? So yesterday we were talking about that we count how up and down, and then we count back and forth. Rise over run can also be considered what we say your change in y, right? That, again, that's your up and down. Oops, that doesn't look like a down. Let's make that look like a down arrow. So change in y's over your change in x. That's what that counting is doing. It's telling us how are we changing, going up and down, our counting up or counting down, and then our counting left or counting right. That's our change in y's, up and down, over our change in x. Now we can write an equation to find slope. So we can say slope equals, this is what the equation looks like, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, where the first point is x1 comma y1, and the second point is x2 comma y2. Right? So we have 2 points, just like in topic 3 notes. Right? We had 2 points. We counted the rise over run from point 1 to point 2. Now we still have 2 points. We have a first point, ordered pair, and we have an ordered pair of a second point. And so we're going to take the second point and subtract the coordinates for the first point, and we're going to do the y's over the x's. Y's always go on top, x's always go on bottom. So make sure when you're doing this section, we should be seeing all of your work. Super important to make sure you're showing your work and not trying to do stuff in your head, because it's so easy to mix all these up. We don't want to mix them up. Now, it does not really matter which is your first point and which is your second point. You can choose that if you want to. When we're doing the work here, I'm just going to have the first point be the first one written and the second point be the second one written. So here we go. Number 1. So here's my first point. My first point is 1 comma 1. And then my second point is 2 comma 3. And so what we're going to do, and I like to use my points to help me do this. So we're going to do our slope. And what we're going to do is we're going to take, it's y2 minus y1. So if I was going to write down these points here, I would say we have x1, y1, right? Because we said the first point was the first one. And then we have x2, y2. And what it is, it's the change in y's. It's y2 minus y1. So we're going to go from this y here to that y there. And it can be helpful right on the problem to write the math. There's a minus sign here in the middle. So that means that we're going to start with 3 and we're subtracting 1. So if I was writing my slope equals 3 over 1. Oh, I'm going to move that, sorry. Oh, whoops. Didn't mean to make that one. I'm going to write it over here. So I have room to write underneath. So slope equals, the top is 3 minus 1, because that's the change in y's. And then I like to do my change in x's. So down here in the bottom, I'm going to go from x to x, and that is 2 minus 1. So my change in x's is 2 minus 1 on the bottom. And then you do the math. 3 minus 1 is 2 on top. 2 minus 1 is 1 on the bottom. So it's 2 over 1, or you could just say 2 if you wanted. Either way. Right, there's the slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So connecting the y's on top and connecting the x's on the bottom can help you remember that the y's have to go on top. It's one of those things you got to memorize. Y's have to go on top. All right, let's try number 2. So number 2 here, my first point, my x1, y1, is 6 comma 2. My second point, my x2, y2 is going to be negative 1 comma 4. So I'm going to use my blue pen this time here. So we're going to start with the y's, right? It's because the slope is the y's together. So we're going to go here to there. And so we start with the 4. We put the minus sign in the middle, 2. Right? It's always a minus sign in the middle. So this is 4 minus 2. And then the x's, x2 minus x1, is we start with negative 1. We're going to subtract 6. So negative 1 minus 6 is the bottom. And so we simplify. So 4 minus 2 is 2. I do negative 1. So keep, change, switch. So negative 1 plus negative 6 gives me negative 7. 2 over 7 can't be simplified. There is my slope. Negative 2 over 7. Rise of 2, run of negative 7. So if we were going up 2 and to the left 7, right, from one point. So from 6 comma 2, we would go up 2 and then to the left 7. Or we go down 2 and to the right 7. Okay. We're going to do a few more of these. So let's go up here a little bit. Here we go. Number 3. So number 3, my first point is negative 2, negative 4. My second point is 10 comma 3. All right, so we'll do green this time. So my slope is going to be my y's first. So y to y here, we have 3 minus negative 4, right? That minus sign has to be in the middle, and then it's minus a negative 4. So I like to put my negative numbers in parentheses, keep them organized. So it's 3 minus negative 4. My x's is 10. So it's 10 is my first number, minus the negative 2. So we have 10 minus negative 2. So 3 minus a negative, right? A negative negative is the same thing as saying 3 plus 4. So if you want to write it 3 plus 4 over here, you can. 3 minus negative 4 is the same as 3 plus 4. Or if you want, you could do it this way too. We could do minus a negative 4 and then do keep, change, switch, which makes it a plus, right? Minus minus is plus. And then we have 10 minus negative 2, which is again, plus plus makes that a plus. So 3 plus 4 is 7 on top. 10 plus 2 is 12 on the bottom. Here's my slope, 7 over 12. All right, rise of 7, run of 12. All right, so you got to be super careful because this is a minus sign. It's always a minus sign because my equation up here, right, is a minus sign, right? That is a minus sign. So you have to keep that minus. If it's a minus a negative, then you got to do the minus a negative. All right, number 4. So number 4 is one more like this, and then we're going to look at kind of special cases. So we have 4 is negative 10, I apologize, negative 2 comma 10. So the first point is negative 2 comma 10. The second point is 18 comma negative 4. So we have negative 2 comma 10, and we have 18 comma negative 4. So I'm going to start here with my slope this time. My y2 over y1. So y2 is negative 4 minus 10. Right? Negative 4 minus 10 is my y's. Change in y's. y2 minus y1. And then I do my change in x's, which is 18 minus negative 2. Right? So 18 minus negative 2. So then we have to do our math. So I do, if I do my keep, change, switch, I'll do this one in black so you can clearly see it. All right, we keep the negative 4, we change it to addition, and we switch it to negative 10. So this is negative 14. And then we keep the 18s and then change that to plus and change that to plus. 18 plus 2 is 20. So we have negative 14 over 20. We need to simplify, so I can divide out of 2 and divide out of 2. And so that's negative 7 over 10. Here we are. All right, so be super careful when we're doing these problems that we are paying attention, that we're making sure we're using that minus sign every time, and that we're going from the y to the y, from y2 to y1 on top, and then x2 to x1 on the bottom. Now let's look at number 5. So number 5 here is a, we're going to do the same thing and then we're going to see what happens. So here's my point. I have our first point is 3 comma 5. My second point is 3 comma negative 2. So I have 2 points here, right? So I'm going to go back to red. We use red this one, right? So we're going to go, so our slope here is y2 minus y1. So connecting the two y's, I have negative 2 minus 5. So on top, I have negative 2 minus 5. On the bottom, x2 minus x1, I have 3 minus 3. So I have 3 minus 3. So looking at the top first, I have keep, change, switch. So negative 2 we keep, we change that to addition, we switch that to a negative. Negative 2 plus negative 5 is negative 7 on top. 3 minus 3 is 0 on the bottom, right? So if you remember your math rules, I don't see if you remember or not, right? Our math rules say that we cannot divide by 0. This is an illegal math rule, right? It's illegal. We can't divide by 0. We're not allowed. It's not true. So if 0 is on the bottom, we call this slope undefined. Undefined is what this slope is. Right, and I'm gonna sketch a little graph here. So you should sketch a graph on your paper too, because it kind of helps re-emphasize what this is. So let's plot these points. So we have 3, 5, right? So we're gonna go over 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So over 3, 1, 2, 3, up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So I'm gonna go over 3. Let me change. We'll change back to red here. So we're gonna go over 3, up 5. Right. Here's a point on this graph, and then we also have the point over 3. Down negative 2. So I got to put a couple negatives on my graph here, right? So I'm going to go over 3 down negative 2. You know, let me erase that, move that over. I feel like it's not quite where it's supposed to be. Let's go back. Let's go over 3, up 5. Looks like it should be more like right there, right? And then over 3 down 2 should be like right there. If we connect these 2 points here, right, this is a vertical line. Vertical lines have undefined slope every time. Vertical lines have undefined slopes. Sorry if you can hear the helicopter going over. All right, vertical lines have undefined slopes. So any vertical line is going to have undefined slope. Anytime you have a 0 on the bottom, then we know this is a vertical line. Anytime you have 0 on the bottom, it's undefined slope, it's a vertical line. Okay, so vertical lines have undefined slope. Now, we got one last problem to do in our notes right now. Let's do number 6. Number 6 here. Here's our first point. Our first point is, let's move number 6 down a little bit so we have room. Our first point is negative 4, negative 1. So point 1 is negative 4, negative 1. Point 2 is 5, comma, negative 1. All right, so there's my 2 points. So now let's go ahead and find our slope. So our slope here is y2 minus y1. So negative 1 minus a negative 1. Right? If we wrote it out, negative 1 minus a negative 1. There's a lot of negative signs in that problem. x2 minus x1 is 5 minus negative 4. So we have 5 minus negative 4. Right? So let's go ahead and I'm going to change it back to black here. I'll do keep changes. So keep the negative 1, change to addition, change that to a positive. Negative 1 plus 1 equals 0 on top. Keep the 5, change it to addition, change it to a positive 4. 5 plus 4 is 9 on the bottom, right? 0 divided by 9 equals 0. So my slope for this one is 0. So when 0 is on top, the slope is 0. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to sketch this one as well. think there's a straight line tool on this thing I should figure out how to use. All right, so let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's go ahead and sketch the line that makes these 2 points. So if I go over -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1, here we are. And then if I go over 5 and down 1, here we are. So I'm going to connect these 2 dots with this blue line here, right? Horizontal lines have 0 slope. So horizontal lines always have 0 slope. All right, to the number 0. And there are some ways that help us kind of remember vertical lines versus horizontal lines. We'll chat about those on our live class on Wednesday. All right, so that's what, so if 0 is on top and the slope is 0, then it is a horizontal line. We just want to reinforce that it's a horizontal line. If the 0 is on the bottom, you cannot divide by 0. That's a vertical line. It's undefined slope. The answer is undefined. All right, that's our slope notes. So go ahead and finish that up, and then your homework for the slope from 2 points is 4.04.